This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is Not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
This is Zombie Dragon, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J. It's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the Devil Weight Zombie Dragon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on, by the way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. And can you tell us where the zombie is going to be next, event-wise?
Yes, my next event is scheduled for September. We don't have an exact date yet, but it's going to be September in Shanghai, China, for the MKW Championship Supercard. So that's going to be the big event that I'm looking forward to. And then after that, we should have another event in Shenzhen. We usually have that event kind of like our WrestleMania around December or January. So those are the two big events that I'll have coming up, and smaller events in between then.
Okay.
Oh, and you can also keep up with my current events or past events, if you like, on my Facebook, Alberto Curry, or Zombie Dragon, my Twitter, TH3 Zombie Dragon, or Instagram, The Zombie Dragon. Either of those, I'm pretty active, but I'm more active on my Facebook if you want to reach out or anything.
Okay. And merchandise?
Merchandise? I'm glad you plugged that. Merchandise you can find on ProWrestlingTees.com. I have a shop on the store called Devilware. You can find all my updated merch, and you can also find some original stuff that I had when I first started the character. So a lot of history with the merchandise on that page. And if you're not on Pro Wrestling Tees, you can always catch me at an event, and I'll give you something there.
Perfect. And you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. All right.
Perfection.
Let's get into it. You work for Middle Kingdom Wrestling. Can you tell us about your relationship with the company?
Yeah. So, originally I had a friend, one of the members of the table, Uncle Money, who came to China first, and he moved to China unrelated to wrestling, actually. Right. And he wanted to, continue to pursue pro wrestling, and he found Middle Kingdom Wrestling. And they were, still in the, I guess you could say, growing stages, still in the infantile stages, because, wrestling is still pretty new in China at this point. And they were wanting to take it, to the next step, take it really seriously. And they wanted a head trainer. And he goes, well, Zombie Dragon or Curry trained me back in Atlanta. He'd probably, be someone good to have on hand. And so they reached out to me, and like a few months later, I ended up moving out to Harbin, China. We call it Russia because it's so cold. But I moved out to Harbin, China, and started training the guys. We got a really good relationship. Me and all the staff, even the Chinese or the foreign staff, we're all pretty tight knit. Yeah, but we have a great relationship. It's pretty fun getting to travel the country and, see the growth and development of the industry, not just with MKW, but with the other companies that are, popping up as well.
Zombie Dragon obviously was getting big and popping off in America at the time. So what was the key factors in you deciding to move literally to China to help develop a maybe a place where pro wrestling isn't as flourishing as it is in the States?
The biggest thing for me is, besides wrestling, I enjoy helping people more than I do the actual wrestling. Wrestling is, I guess, secondary. So being in a position that I can, go out somewhere and help people with wrestling, that's bigger than me. That's bigger than my career. That's bigger than anything I'll ever do. Being able to help people, who are not as fortunate, realize and accomplish their dreams, that's pretty huge. So that was, it was like a no-brainer. It wasn't much of a decision. That's honestly why I ended up, moving out, taking everything I had and just, I guess, betting on myself and betting on, trainees, people I haven't even met before.
And honestly, that's incredible. Honestly, as they say, wrestling can be a selfish business.
Yeah. It absolutely can be.
Now, when you first moved to China, developing pro wrestling at that point, where was it back then? Maybe those first couple of months to where you currently are, with Middle Kingdom.
Oh man, it's like day and night. So I remember I want to say the second night I was in China. The first night, I remember I arrived on a Tuesday. We had a show on that Friday. So Wednesday night, I went to the dojo and I looked at the ring, and it was in such a disarray because, behind the scenes in pro wrestling, we typically have a lot of etiquette and, different things, different unwritten rules, I guess you could say.
Right.
And so just looking at the ropes are here, the steel is here, the wood is there. I'm like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? So I was like, yeah, we got to change this. And I started to become like I don't want to say like a sergeant, but like a DI, like I'm just barking orders, but, kind of like, just kind of taking charge of showing guys like, okay, this is how things should be. But not only that, this is why things should be this way. So I was, teaching them, the different things, but looking at it now, oh my God, like it's come so far. Like that old ring, we don't even use that ring anymore. We got like a proper Japanese style ring now. The production has gotten better. The lighting has gotten better. The wrestling has gotten better. The characters have gotten better. It's like, again, day and night.
Okay. You mentioned Japanese ring. Is there a difference between a Japanese ring and an American ring?
Yep. Yes, they are.
Okay.
There's a bit. Japanese rings, they hurt. They're stiff. Those things are stiff, man. It feels like I'd rather go outside and fall on the concrete. No, they're well built. They're well built. They have really good steel. A little stiffer than the American rings, but they're pretty good, solid rings. They're gonna last you for a very long time. A very long time. One of my things with the company was with our old ring, we kept having to have repairs on it. And I was just like, why not spend the money on a good ring and just not have to really worry about it anymore? And that was, kind of the deciding factor on that. But we have speaking of rings, we have another ring in China. This ring is infamous. We call it the IGF ring. Man, that ring is terribly stiff. Like, I made the joke about concrete. That thing is concrete. That ring is made of vibranium. I took a bump on that on that thing, and I was like, the only bump I'm taking is the last move of the match. and a matter of fact, I remember they wanted me to win the match, but I told them no. And they were confused, like, who doesn't want to win a match? I was like, look, my finisher is a leg drop off the top rope.
Oh.
This thing is made of vibranium. Yeah. Just beat me. Just beat me and give me money.
Yeah, I totally get that. Alright. Now keeping on Middle Kingdom, you were the Middle Kingdom champion. World champion for 587 days. What did it kind of mean to you to hold that championship that long in a time where, you know, things were a bit more hectic? Let's see.
Right. That kind of made it feel more special for me. You know what I mean? Because the company trusted me to hold it during the, you know, worst time, you know, globally. You know what I mean?
Right.
And believe it or not, I did more wrestling then versus any other time, because when we were going through the COVID phase, we were doing tapings. And what we would do is we would fly everybody in to, you know, Harbin or wherever we were doing the tapings. And we just have matches 3 days straight, and we'd have them in blocks, like in different sections. So you might end up having, like, over a 2-day period, 6 matches. And I, you know, kayfabe aside, was doing 2 characters, so I was doing a lot of wrestling. But I was really appreciative afterwards, because I was like, man, they, out of all the time, you know, they could have put that bet on me. They put it on me when, you know, the future wasn't certain. They betted on me. I was really overwhelmed and, you know, pretty joyed by them taking that type of stance and, like, saying, this is who we want to be our champion. Like, that's pretty cool, man.
And, like, that's kind of crazy. Like, you're doing multiple matches, you know, in a day. How do you prepare for, you know, multiple matches in a day when they're not necessarily, you know, one after another?
Oh, good question. So when you have, like, so many matches like that, you don't want to do too much in any match, but you also don't want to cheat the fans at all. And so for me, I've gotten kind of lucky in the regard that I have a character. Some wrestlers are just, you know, pure, you know, athletes, pure wrestlers. But for me, I can, you know, do a lot of character work, you know, which is a lot of times more interesting than, let's say, a drop kick or something. And so that way I can prepare a whole lot better. And then knowing the guys, you know, knowing, you know, the Chinese wrestlers, the, you know, foreign wrestlers, you know, pretty much being hip to who everybody is and what their moves are. I live in the city, so for me, it's just, you know, going on YouTube or whatever we were using and just seeing what moves they do and how I can mesh it with my stuff. And instead of thinking about moves, I just think about the moments we can create in each match. And I make each match that we do about a specific story and specific moments that I want. And it becomes, like, kind of easy after, like, the first day. The second day, you've got it. The first day you might be rusty because of COVID and a lot of guys weren't active, but that second day, everybody's just on it.
Okay. Now, you teamed with Ho Ho Lung and Yoshi Tatsu. You know, obviously big names. Against Bitman, Big Sam, and Uncle Money. Can you tell us about that match and that experience?
Yeah, that was a fun time, man. That was, you know what? That wasn't just a fun match. That was a fun day. Like, behind the scenes, like, you got some of the most hilarious people all in a match together. It was a fun ass time. I love that match, man. Yoshi was such a sweet person, by the way. Just really sweet, down to earth, love joking with the guys. We had a lot of good jokes and stuff, and man, that was just a fun match. That was one of those matches you have where it doesn't feel like work. You know what I mean? It just feels like you're hanging out with friends.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely love it. I did see him again in where do we go? In Shanghai. But I would love to have Yoshitatsu back over.
Oh yeah. Now, you mentioned Uncle Money, and he was in this match as well. You've had the Shinjin street fight against Uncle Money, no?
Oh, that's right.
Can you tell us about that match and that rivalry with Uncle Money, considering, your history together?
Yeah, that was kind of like not really a passing of the torch. What do you call it? Kind of like a I don't want to say initiation. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like a I'm trying to find the word, like when someone's doing not like congratulations, but like like a honor type of thing. Yeah, kind of. I want to say kind of like initiation, but I don't want it to sound like gang affiliated. But I mean, like it was, kind of like an initiation for Uncle Money, because like with our history, me training him for his first wrestling match, we had it in like a random place in Georgia, and he went over, which of course I don't care about that, and so this one was me going over on him, but the big point of that match was one of the Chinese wrestlers I had been training. He made his debut in that match for the finish, so it was like we were passing the torch for him, but it was also symbolic for Uncle Money that like, okay, he's past that level now. He's not that rookie anymore. You know what I mean? He's beginning to be an equal.
Right. I mean, obviously, you were his first match, and to this point, what were some of the differences you saw in him from that first match to that point?
Oh man, I saw a lot of progress. A lot of people don't know he does acting as well, which is perfect, for wrestling, because wrestlers are, partially actors. So I saw him starting to bring more of his acting experience into wrestling, and I started seeing him become more confident. He used to be really timid with strikes and things, but once he saw that, guys can take it, he started really throwing stuff and, really believing in his character. And one of his favorite wrestlers is The Rock. And I started having him emulate some of the small things that The Rock does. And I just like, okay, this guy looks like a wrestler. He feels like a pro wrestler. Like he's a guy that you could, at this point, build a company around, and it would make sense.
Oh, definitely. You have a bit of a rivalry with the stable. Obviously, there are X-Packs as well. Was it ever discussed, Zombie Dragon joining the stable?
There was never really. We teased something of that idea, because in Japan, Chairman Al represents the stable and Zombie Dragon, but in China he only represents the stable. Similar to Bill Alfonso with RVD and Sabu. If RVD and Sabu were fighting each other, it's kind of like that. We kind of have that thing going. Me and Chairman Al. Yeah. And there was an idea of Zombie in the stable, but Zombie doesn't need the stable, and they don't need Zombie, because I would just be the odd man out. And also, I think is the stable still a thing? I don't know. They might have broken up at this point. I can't remember, but yeah, it would have been interesting. I think if anything, seeing Big Sam and Zombie Dragon as a tag team would be quite the spectacle.
Maybe when you get back to Japan and Chairman Al is managing you both.
Oh, now that might be something to see. That might be, I might need to hit Alan up about that. That sounds like a good idea. We go on a tear.
I mean, what was that experience like wrestling in Japan? Obviously, when it comes to pro wrestling, Japan is one of the bigger countries. And considering, China is still in the developing stages of pro wrestling, what was it like going there?
Oh, well, Japan is like the mecca of, pro wrestling and all things wrestling and entertainment mostly. And so what ended up happening is I wasn't the champion when I first went to Japan. I remember that. And I went over and we were there for 2 shows. Was it 2 shows? Yeah, 2 shows at this place called Basement Monstar, which is, place that always has wrestling. I'm sure if you Google or YouTube this place, it's going to be wrestling. And so anyway, me and the champion, we fly over. And the first night, or the first match, I'm in a tag match with the promoter and things like that. And I remember before the matches, they came to me and they showed me their, their layout sheet of the venue and what tickets they sold. And they were like, hey, we put you on the poster and we're almost sold out. We've never almost sold out like this before. So I was like, oh man, that's, people, this is real, people are coming to see me do some work. And so we do the tag match, which is cool because I got to tag with Unreal, another, old school Japanese guy, one of my favorites. And the second match, I was supposed to do the main event against Guts Ishimori, but he got hurt. His arm got hurt. So they put me in a match with a younger guy named Toru, and we had a killer, probably my favorite match ever. Just such a good match. So, and they were like, yeah, we're bringing you back. And the second time was crazy because the second time I went to Japan, they didn't even bring the champion. They just like, nah, we just want Zombie. We're going to bring him over. And that's when, that was the second time I got to work with Alan. That's where you see that cool picture of me and Alan walking through the street. That comes from the second time I was in Japan.
You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was raining on you guys, right?
Yeah. You know what? It was like a freaking anime because it's when once we get into like the heat in the match, that's when the rain starts. So it's like adding to the match. It was crazy. It was such a amazing time. That's one of my favorite places. I got a couple other favorite countries I like to wrestle in, if you want to hear about them.
Yeah, absolutely. But first, I just would like to know, wrestling in the ring, more challenging, obviously.
A little bit, a little bit slippery. Even though we had there are different types of canvases for the ring. Some people like to use that tarp canvas. I hate that one. And then some people use the cloth canvas. So we had the cloth canvas, but there was so much rain, like running the ropes and things, like there's that traction just, really isn't there. And you're like, oh snap, I can't run them or, hit the ropes like I want to hit them. You got to really be careful. If you're a smaller guy like myself and you want to climb the ropes, you really got to be careful because you could slip in something like that. And with my character, I can't really afford to slip.
Right.
That kills my character, so I got to be extra cautious.
So it's cool for dramatic effect, but not maybe in, a working environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely not.
Right, you mentioned about other countries. One that stuck out to me was Nepal.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was going to mention, Nepal. That's probably, believe it or not, that's at the top of my list, Nepal. Just the entire experience. I've gone twice, but just the entire experience there, we were very, very welcomed. The way we did it is, this wasn't just a partnership between wrestling companies. This was a partnership between countries. So what we did is the match was in May, and in March we did the press conference. So me, one of the other champions, we went to Nepal by ourselves, and we did the press conference and everything went well. It was pretty good. And in May we go to do the show, and this is where it gets crazy. We're at the airport going through customs. Excuse me. And I see on the televisions, they got WWE. I'm like, okay, I've never seen that at an airport. Then the match finishes, then there's TNA playing. So I'm like, okay, does this country really just like wrestling? But because of the event at the airport all day, probably all week, they just been playing nothing but wrestling matches. And we get outside of the airport, and fortunately, I got my mask on, but reporters and news people, they just come out, and they're getting interviews and stuff. I'm like, man, they're really serious about it. They're really like on it. And excuse me, we do the match, and afterwards they had us staying at like a villa, and then we go back to the villa, and then they're like, hey, the acting prime minister's here. He wants to meet all the contestants. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's like, what? And they gave us like these medals and certificates for competing in Nepal. And then eventually I go to sleep, and then I get a knock on my door. I open the door, there's a newspaper, and I'm like, they already got us printed in the newspaper for the event that night. For the event, like the night before. It was crazy. It was such an experience. And Nepal is one of those countries that doesn't get like, WWE live shows or Impact live shows.
Right.
So when they get, foreign wrestlers with the characters, the gear, the music, the whole nine, they just lose it in a good way. Anything, a tie-up would be like Hogan slamming Andre. That's how the crowd, erupts on anything. And some of those events, they have them in the mountains, in like a village, and you have thousands of people just, in the mountains watching wrestling. It's a surreal experience.
Right. It's a bit of a hike up there as well. I've heard that they could walk maybe a mile and a half to get to those shows.
Yep, absolutely. And the matter of fact, I remember the show that we did, they had to make this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. They had to make the tickets more expensive, because if not, too many people would have showed up, and the stadium would not have been able to hold the people. I was like, holy crap! I've never heard of that problem before.
Now you mentioned, when you were coming off the bus, they were ready for use. Did you have your mask ready to go? Like.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I had it. I had it ready to go. Like soon as I passed through the customs gate, I was ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've talked about interesting places you've wrestled, and interesting people. Now it's time to talk about interesting things you've wrestled on top of. Bugs.
That was a wild one, man. All right, that one, and it was kind of like an inside joke as well, because the owner of MKW, he likes working with insects and different things like that. That's kind of like one of his hobbies. And some people, those bugs, a lot of people like to eat those. What do you call them? Silkworms. Yeah, people barbecue those things. Yeah, that's a food. Yeah, those worms that I had, those silkworms, a lot of people just barbecue and eat them. I wouldn't do it, but so it was kind of like an inside joke. I was like, I'm going to use these in a match and see how. And man, those things freaking, when I hit the mat, you could hear them like make that pop sound, and the fans just groan, and I stand up and you see the guts of the bugs all on my abs. It was crazy. It felt as disgusting as it looked. I will never do that spot again. We had to throw that canvas out. We couldn't get the bug guts out of it. I remember because I went back to the venue the next day to check on everything and help break down the ring, and I remember seeing bug guts and beer in the ring, and I'm like, this is so random. There was bug guts, beer, and a cat in the ring. It was just so random. I was like, yeah, let's just get rid of this. I just buy another one.
Yeah, that's I don't think we'll be seeing Nick Gage do a match with bugs anytime soon.
Yeah, man, that's terrible. That's a once in a lifetime type of thing.
Speaking of once in a lifetime, you teamed with Tajiri. Obviously a big name, not just in Japanese wrestling, but wrestling as a whole. So what was that like?
That was pretty cool, man. And I didn't even know it until like maybe a week, I think, before the show. Because I knew we were going to be on the same show. This was when Ho Ho Lun was running Hong Kong wrestling. And usually when a promoter is a wrestler and they bring in a name, they want to wrestle the name themselves or something like that. That's usually, kind of how it goes. So I honestly didn't expect nothing of it. I just was like making plans like, okay, well, if he's going to be there, then out of respect, I won't do the poison miss. Let him do it. It'll mean more if he does it. But I brought my stuff just in case. And like maybe a week or so, maybe even just a few days, I see they're like, hey, you guys are gonna tag. We're gonna have you come out after Tajiri's match the first night, and that'll solidify the team. And then the next night, you guys will team up. And I was like, yo, word, that's crazy, man. And what makes it even greater is, and I met his wife. She was really sweet. She has like these little like little dolls that she carries around. I think that represents like both of them. It's really cute. But anyway, after the match, this is somebody I looked up to career-wise and, have elements of in my character. I'm outside in Hong Kong. I got an orange juice and like some Ritz crackers. And Tajiri likes to drink a bit. So he's going out to go get a drink, and he looks at me. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I look at him with my orange juice and my backwards cap, and I'm just like, talking to my wife. And it was like we were just so opposite, but that made it so great. He was a pleasure to be around, though. A lot of places in like Southeast Asia like to bring him over because he's not just a good wrestler, a good mind, a good trainer as well. He helps train a lot of the people around Southeast Asia. So he's got his fingerprints on a lot of stuff.
I think he's currently working for Dragon Gate?
Kyushu. Kyushu Pro. Okay. I don't know if he's with Dragon Gate, but I know Kyushu Pro is, he's full-time with, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned the Mist. And obviously that's a big part of his character. What did it kind of mean to you to double Mist with Tajiri?
Man, that was that was such a moment, man. That was like that's one of those moments in my career that means like my mom and I used to watch SmackDown, and she would watch some of it. She wasn't like a big wrestling fan, more of a casual. So she knew like, The Rock, she knew Austin. But out of the like main event guys, she did know Tajiri and she liked him. So being able to do that with him, which is someone even my mom liked as a wrestler, was pretty cool. That was the meaning for me. That was the symbolism. Like I got to, work with somebody that my mom remembers, That was crazy. hitting the double mist, and oh my God, man. And the fans were great. The Hong Kong fans are really, really loud. Like, we discussed before, wrestling is still kind of new in China, so it's difficult to get the crowds to, get really, really loud. Society doesn't really encourage a whole lot of, what's the word? Charisma, I guess, for lack of a better word. But sometimes, like at Hong Kong, you have a lot of foreign people who know what wrestling is. And then the Hong Kong crowd is much more open. So when they see stuff like that, it really means something to us as the wrestlers, because they're giving you that feedback, that audio feedback of like, this is amazing. This is freaking awesome.
Now, when you do the mist with, Chujiri, teaming with Chujiri in general, is that a moment you take in the moment, or is that something that kind of sets in afterwards, like, wow, I did that?
It set in after. It set in after because, I'm professional. When I'm there, I'm there to work. I'm there to listen. I'm there to, see what I can do to put on a good, entertaining match for the people within reason. I'm all about pleasing my boss, which is the fans. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm watching other matches to make sure I don't do the same thing. Like I'm focused, like laser focused when it's time to go. And then afterwards, once I know the job is done, I can relax. And then that's when, it sets in like, okay, we've done it. Are you proud of the work you've done today? If so, you can celebrate.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, wrestling being new in the Southeast Asia. And one of those places is Vietnam. You wrestled for Vietnam Pro Wrestling, even before they had a ring.
That's right.
So, I mean, honestly, one of the best crowds in the area. But when they approach you to do the match, are you like, you don't have a ring? Or how did you feel about that?
I didn't really care because I saw some of their previous stuff and I saw how the fans reacted. That's usually kind of like my deciding factor, seeing the fans, seeing the environment. I didn't care that they didn't have a ring. What I saw was, I was looking past that. I was looking at the fans believe in this company. They believe in these wrestlers. They don't even have a ring, and these people are screaming like this is freaking WrestleFest. Like, they believe in this. I was like, how can I not be a part of this? They'll get a ring. That's a problem you can fix, with just a little bit of money. But there are places that do have a ring, and the fans don't care at all, and they just have bad shows. But I'm like, if these guys are willing to put in the work, which they clearly are,
right,
and the fans are willing to pay their hard-earned money to come see these guys, I'm like, I feel like it's kind of my duty at this point to, go there and do what I can do. And it gives me some experience to be able to say, I've wrestled in a match that didn't have a ring.
Which you would have been able to say anyway, because you wrestled for World Underground.
Yep, WUW in Austria.
Yes.
Yep. That one was a little different. That one hurt. That one hurt a little bit. But yeah, I went WUW in Austria. That's where I met what's her name? Toxic Tekla.
Oh yeah.
She's pretty good, but being in Austria was kind of cool. And funny enough, when I went to Austria at the place that I was staying at, sure enough, there was a wrestling poster and Tajiri was on it. I was like, well, look at that. And matter of fact, I remember I took a picture of it because he was on the poster on the wall, and there was a can that somebody had just left on the street that was like dragging, and it had the red and black color similar to mine. I was like, wow, that ain't foreshadowing.
Right. Kind of getting back to Middle Kingdom. You won the Kingdom Rumble after beating Peter Avalon.
Yes, sir.
how did that come about? Because I don't remember ever hearing Peter Avalon making a trip to China.
Yeah, Adrian, Adrian Gomez, the owner of MKW, he wanted to bring somebody in from AEW, and he was like, "Why not Peter Avalon? He probably wouldn't be too expensive, maybe a little, but why not bring him in? He seems like a good person to work with, because it's not always about star power. Sometimes we'll just like bring in somebody in just for the hell of it, and if they're good people, that'll get you anywhere versus being just a good wrestler who nobody can really deal with." And so anyway, we brought Peter in, and he was everything you would have dreamed of a worker and a person. He's really, really cool, really chill. And the Kingdom Rumble for me was a highlight, not even because I won the match, honestly, not even because I was in the match. It was the fact that the company trusted me to plan the match. I got to plan the match. I got to plan each and every spot, who's going to be where. Normally a Rumble is just punches and kicks, which it is, but still I wanted to keep some type of rhyme and rhythm and didn't want to just have a bunch of guys in the corner doing nothing and stuff like that. People knowing, okay, when this person comes out, here's the spots he's going to do, here's the ropes he's going to hit. Just, planning the whole flow, directing traffic, and, staying in the match for like, I don't know how long it was. What, an hour? I don't know. 30, 45 minutes.
Participant.
Yeah, I was one of the first participants. I was the first participant because it was me and Ho Ho Loon first. And that was the biggest thing for me, just being able to show that I could plan something that big, and it being successful, and having the owner come up and thank me. That was pretty cool. And another thing, if you go back and watch it, I don't know if it's still on YouTube, there's a point where me and Ho Ho are in the corner, and I think I'm choking him or something, and something's happening in the ring in the middle, and he goes, "Quick, Zombie, let's switch. I want to watch this." So he starts choking me, and we spin around so he can see the spot going on. It was pretty fun though. I like working with Ho Ho.
Now, all the incredible things we've been talking about, you've been on PWI's top 500. You were 473. What does it kind of mean to you to be on, one of the most prestigious lists in pro wrestling?
And that was a surprise, honestly, because I had been so focused on what I'm doing here and, just helping others. So, and actually, was looking at the list because I wanted to see, which of my friends, made it off on the list. Who can I be proud of? Like, message them, congratulations, man. And I was like, saw my name and I was like, wait, what? Wait, how? I ain't did nothing. I mean, I just went to like a bunch of countries and held a belt for a long time, but that ain't nothing compared to, it's because like in the States, I left when Zombie was like really, just starting to pop off. So it was cool that people were, taking recognition of what I was doing, even though I was, miles and miles away.
Okay. Now, like we've been talking, Zombie Dragon, masked character. Even prior to Zombie Dragon, masked character. It's somewhat unusual for a pro wrestler to be a masked gimmick their entire career, unless they're, a luchador. So what kind of made you decide to be a masked wrestler right off the get-go?
Oh, good question. Because if people cancel me, I could just change my mask. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It was honestly WCW. I grew up being from Atlanta. I grew up on a lot of WCW, and like Ultimo Dragon and Psychosis was my favorite wrestler. But guys like him, Ultimo Dragon and Rey Mysterio, and seeing these different characters with these cool outfits, I was like, if I'm gonna be a wrestler, I'm gonna wear a mask. And I didn't even know how I don't want to say legendary, but how unique that would be in the South, like a black guy with a mask for his whole career. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, that was a deciding factor. It was just watching a bunch of Nitros and Thunders.
Okay. Well, talking about, being a masked character prior to Zombie Dragon, tell us about Corey Kidd.
Yeah, it started off kind of as a joke. I was training at WWA 4 at the time, and I was still training. So this was like early, I want to say summer 2000, maybe like spring 2008, somewhere in there. And I want to say Curryman, he might have debuted on TNA, or I seen him in Japan or something. Maybe we were watching the tape, and I was like, and somebody looked at me and was like, "You should be Curry Boy or something." I was like, "Ah, that sounds lame, boy." I was like, "What about Curry Kid?" And when I said it, I was like, "That's kind of cool." And I got somebody to make a Curry mask for me, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of fun." Like, maybe this thing's got some steam, got some legs, and that's how it happened, man. I came up with the name with a friend of mine, and as a joke, and then started doing the character, and it just worked. I was like, this is freaking awesome. And then people started to resonate with the happy character because, like, in Atlanta or in the South, so to speak, like the places I was wrestling, like Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, places like that, that character back then was very unique. And it was really easy to stand out on like a traditional wrestling card. So I was always treated quite fairly most of the time.
I mean, I will say that Corey Kidd is a complete 360 of Zombie Dragon, to say the least.
Yeah.
But Corey Kidd did make a China debut as well, so he's not completely gone as well.
That's right. He made a China debut, and that just happened by chance because when I moved here, I brought all my stuff, but we needed an extra wrestler, and nobody else had an extra character, and I was like, well, I could do it as Curry, and I can speak a bit of Chinese, so let's see where it goes. And it became like a fan favorite in China, which is so random. I literally brought that character out of my bag to be a jobber, and it gets over, and people like him. And I was like, only in China, man. Only in China would they like Curry. But yeah, he made a good debut too. And like you said, it is a 360. Zombie and Curry, they're polar opposites. But the thing is, like, usually when you train in wrestling, your trainer will say, like, your character, your gimmick is supposed to be you, but dialed up to 11. And so with Zombie, I took the logic of, what if my character is me, but dialed in the opposite way, a negative 11? What could happen? Damn. It's really just kind of an experiment. And, it started to morph into what it is today.
That's incredible. It's difficult for people to figure out, what is that dialed up to 11 version of themselves are, let alone to take it in the opposite direction. I don't think a lot of people even think about going in the opposite direction.
I like to think outside the mask.
All right. Now, it's time for Zombie's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh my God, I am full of I'm full of insane road stories. Where do I begin? Oh my God, let's see. All right, I'll give you two. Is that okay?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So the first one is about my second trip to Nepal. I was flying there with this guy. I won't say who he is, but he videoed everything like a documentary. He was filming us like it was National Geographic. Like I would go into McDonald's and he'd be like, "Zombie is ordering a milkshake. Scratch that. It's a McFlurry." Like he's just like being extra annoying. And people who know me know I actually do not drink. I don't drink or smoke or anything like that. So we get to Nepal and we had to fly from Harbin, China to Xi'an, China to Tibet to Kathmandu, Nepal. So it was a lot of flying and a lot of videoing and a lot of annoying. And so there were some Indian wrestlers there, obviously from India. And they were like, "You want to go out for a drink?" Yes. And I don't know anything about like the difference in altitude and how that affects people. And I'm like, all right, I don't care. I started drinking. They're like, you good, Zombie? You might want to slow down. I'm like, I'll be fine. And I'm drinking these beers like it's juice. I'm drinking I'm drinking like it's water. Like my body is 90% alcohol at this point. And I go to stand up and I'm like, I ain't never felt this before, but I know this ain't right. and so one of the Indian guys is like, "Oh man, this is my chance to show up the American wrestler." So he goes, "Hey Zombie, let's go back to the venue and go to the ring and wrestle." And I'm like, "Okay." And I proceed to out wrestle this dude drunk, and it was hilarious. And my friends recorded it. And then I remember this villa that we were staying at that I told you about. It was freaking beautiful. It was a really nice place. And I remember when I got there in the daytime to put my bags down, I remember these women working all day in the flower garden to like make it really nice for us. And again, I just wrestled drunk. And, you know, wrestling, that's a lot of movement. And we get back to the villa, and sure enough, I throw up right in the flowers. And I'm like, man, these people are going to kill me. I'm going to get deported before the match. Oh, that was one of my crazy stories. The other one, this is more of a rib that I pulled on one of my friends. So we did a photo shoot at a mutual friend's like studio. And I can't remember why, but the friend, Eric Silva, so for anybody listening, they'll know who that is. Mm-hmm. He confiscates my phone. Now, did I do anything that warrants my phone being confiscated? Probably. But that's besides the point. He took my phone. And I was a little upset about him taking my phone. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get him back. 1 month to this day, I'm going to get him back. And he made the fatal mistake of giving me back my phone. And so I get home and I set a reminder in my calendar, 1 month from today, troll his ass. And so what I do is I go to Facebook and I create a new account named Eric Silva. And every day for 30 days, I would slowly emulate all of his posts, add all of his friends, add all of his family to make it seem legit. And sure enough, 30 days to the day, I go through all the group chats that we're in and I kick out the fake Silva and pretend it's a mistake and kick out the real Silva, add the fake one in, and I just start spreading all kind of ridiculousness. Like, I like to eat cows' butts and stuff, you know, all kind of crazy stuff. And people are like, what, Silva, what's wrong with you? And as Zombie, I'm replying to this stuff. Because I got two cell phones. I got two phones. I'm replying to it as Curry, like, oh my God, like, Silva, what's wrong with you? As I'm typing this ridiculousness. And then as people are catching on to that, there's a fake Silva, they're preemptively removing the real Silva from the groups and adding in the fake Silva themselves without realizing they've done it. And it takes like, he's scrambling at this point, trying to figure out what's going on. It's like hours and hours. And I finally tell him. And O'Shea Edwards, one of my good friends, he goes, Curry, did you really just duplicate this man's life just to troll him? And I go, yes. And he goes, you're a legend, man. You're a legend. That's like my favorite rib of all time.
And those are some great stories. And maybe a new gimmick in there as well. Drunk zombie dragon.
Oh my god. You guys do not want to see that.
Well, keeping up on bizarre adventures, you went to the Museum of Torture?
Yeah, man, that was crazy. That was a crazy trip. A friend of mine from England wanted to go there, and he actually met me in Austria because it's close enough. And he said, I'd never forget this. He said, we got two options. We can go to Hitler's grave and piss on it, or we can go to this torture museum. And I was like, what? Those are my only two options? All right, man, let's go to this museum. It was crazy. He was dead serious that we went to the museum and saw like the crazy stuff in the torture museum. It was insane. And it was like, I remember the place it was located at. It was like an underground basement, and it was near like a playground. It was kind of like creepy. Like if you wanted to film a horror movie, like this setup was perfect. Like this could not have been planned better.
I could imagine. I mean, torture devices.
Yeah, that's true. Some of that stuff in there, man, you wouldn't even believe it. I don't want to ruin it for anybody listening who might want to go randomly go to Austria and travel through a torture museum. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's something to see. But there are some messages in there. It's not like all bad. It tells you why you shouldn't do that stuff. How as humans develop, they created more insane ways of hurting each other and stuff like that.
All right. Positive messages at the Torture Museum.
Yeah, of all places, right?
Yeah. Talking about positive things, you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's a zombie dragon comic book?
Yeah, we didn't get to do the other issues, COVID and some other things happened. But yeah, one of our trainees is a writer, and one of his friends is like a comic strip designer. And I went to, one of the cosplay events, and that's where everything just kind of kicked off. And they were like, we want to do comic books and this, that, and other. But COVID kind of screwed me on it. But it was a pretty nice idea at the time. I'm thinking about revisiting it. I just don't know if the market is there, like at least back home. Because if I make it, then I have to make a Chinese version, have to make an English version. I don't know who would who would want it more, I guess, so to speak, and how much would they want it? Is it worth printing? Hopefully it is, and I can revisit it. But I'm not too, I'm not that much into my vanity. It's not like something I have to have, but if it's something people want, a cool memory, then I'll absolutely do it.
I think even non-wrestling fans would probably find it interesting, just the aesthetic of Zombie Dragon in general.
That's true. That might be you might be right about that.
That being said, you could correct me if I'm wrong. Anime fan? Yeah,
I am. I'm a big anime fan. Well, I wouldn't say the biggest anime fan. I'm a big fan of like Nikomon or Ultimate Muscle, whatever you know it as. A bit of Dragon Ball, but Nikomon is like my go-to anime. I think they're rebooting it on Netflix in July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
They are. Is it in July?
I know that there's already one on Netflix. I'm not sure if that's the old one or a new one.
Oh, well, I need to get on Netflix. And what's his name? Buffalo Man is like my favorite character of all time, of all anime. I just loved his aesthetic. So if you look at his aesthetic and you look at Zombie Dragon, besides the obvious size difference, you can see where some of the influence comes from. And I remember the Japanese promoter came the first time to China, and he had like a Buffalo Man shirt, and I freaking lost it. and it's funny because of that shirt. I tell people I got booked because of that shirt, because I just freaking lost it. I'm like taking pictures, and I'm like, marking out, going crazy, and like, normally, Japanese people are very reserved, but he just sees me so excited, he becomes excited, and we just really hit it off after that.
That's awesome. Never say that anime didn't do anything for anybody.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You were in a movie?
Yes. Freak, how many movies have I done? It's been like 2 or 3. I can't even remember, honestly. I can't remember. As Curry and as Zombie, actually.
I know the one with the tank.
Oh, yeah. That tank one was, so a friend of mine in China that was kind of like my manager. He found, he does like a lot of movies, and he ended up finding those tanks not far from where I live. So you see the picture of me on the tank, but there's actually 3 of them. There's 3 of them in a row. And yeah, I don't know why I didn't take more pictures, but I was able to climb inside of them and just, kind of look around and see how not spacious a tank really is. But they look like they were abandoned from, I don't know, 'cause I'm not too familiar with tanks. They look Soviet, so they might have been abandoned. It's in Harbin, so they might have been abandoned there. They could have been there since the Second World War, maybe? I don't know. They were there for a while. Yeah.
Interesting. What was that experience like, being on a movie set?
It was pretty cool. It was, just people tell me. It's kind of like being at a photo shoot, honestly. It kind of felt the same, but instead of taking still photos, you're just acting and doing stuff. And for me, it was like pretty easy, because even though I've never done like legit acting and I don't have too much experience, they're just telling me to do my character. I'm like, okay, well, I do that, every week. So it's just doing the character, getting good shots, reshooting and coming up with different things. It was kind of cool and not too difficult. It felt like just an easy time, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Just something, something cool, a cool notch to add in the belt.
Well, I think that's a great segue into the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, because I'm a troll, there's going to have to be like, let's see, Never Gonna Give You Up has to be in there.
Okay.
Let's see,
So Rick Astley.
Baby Shark got to be in there.
Okay.
It's got to be in there. And I guess my theme song, my old theme song, like Lamb of God, Vigil, that's got to be in there, just for the nostalgia pop. Because that's the song I've used in most of Zombie's career. Now I have my own custom theme. So, yeah, Baby Shark, Never Gonna Give You Up, and Lamb of God, Vigil. Those are the top 3.
This is sounding...
Baby Shark, because F them kids.
This is sounding like a very different movie than I initially expected it to be.
You have no idea what to expect.
Alright, now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack down first, then you write the script. Definitely going to be a different script now. And then we go to casting. Who plays Zombie? And you can't say yourself, because you are legally obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Oh, who played Zombie if I can't play Zombie myself? All right, so since I'm black and I'm a troll, it has to be a white person. So let's see. Who who do I hate the most? Who do I dislike in my friend circle that could play me terribly? Oh man, so many names. I wish Eric. You know what? I'm gonna give it to Eric Silva because that would be the biggest troll. Him having to play me in a movie, and then you know what? As Stanley, I would be him in a movie, and I'd just be terrible. Everything. Yeah, that's who would be me. Silva would be me. That's a great idea. I'm gonna hit him up about that. Hey, I got this proposition for a movie.
Okay. So now that we have you casted, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be three people significant to you and your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
Oh, okay. 3 people in my story, significant to me, and who would play them? One, Mr. Hughes, not because he's super significant, just because I need a good laugh.
Okay.
Let's see, Stephen Platinum, because he really is significant. He could obviously play himself. He's the trainer at PCW, Platinum Championship Wrestling.
Fair enough.
And I guess my wife would be the third person. Significant to me, would be very important to the story.
Okay. And who would play them? Obviously, Mr. Platinum is playing himself, as you said.
Yeah, Platinum would play himself. My wife would definitely play herself. But Mr. Hughes, absolutely. Have you ever talked to Mr. Hughes before?
I have not.
Oh my God. Mr. Hughes has to be Mr. Hughes, man. He is a character in itself. This is a guy who never drops gimmick. I mean, he calls people cows. He's a strange guy, but he's the comic relief. I was gonna say Kevin Hart could play him, but nobody can out Hughes Mr. Hughes.
Okay, I get that. All right. It's sounding like a interesting movie to say the least. Definitely.
It's gonna be like a comedy drama.
Definitely a blockbuster to say the least.
We're going straight to DVD.
And the DVD is gonna go platinum.
Right, platinum DVD.
But until you get the DVD, you could pre-order the tickets now.
Oh, there you go. That's how you get the money, right?
Oh yeah. On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Nope. Mm-mm. Nope. I don't care what you do. I'm the most accepting person. You know, I could compromise on a lot of things.
Okay.
I can accept your political affiliation. I can, respect your gender, whatever, your religion. But if you put pineapple on my pizza, this is a hill. That's not a hill that I'm going to die on because I'm going to come out living. That's the hill you're going to die on.
Damn.
Pineapple on pizza is sacrilegious. It is the worst. Man, I'm about to punch something. I'm so mad. I'm getting legit mad thinking about it. And speaking of, I'm gonna go on a little rant. Speaking of pizza, I'm gonna tell you. When I first got to China, I went to a pizza restaurant, right? And I see this yellow stuff on my pizza, and I'm like, I swear to God, if these people put a pineapple on my pizza, it was worse. They put corn on pizza. Corn. Like singular corn kernels or corn pieces are on my corn. And I'm like, man, what kind of communist death trap put this on my pizza? And I'm just heated at this point. I'm like, this was a perfectly good looking pizza. Who would put corn on this? But yeah, pineapple and corn, those are my triggers.
Okay. Zombie's your friend unless you give him pineapple on pizza. Then you're dead.
Pineapple or corn on pizza, you're dead to me. You are dead to me. I will get you unbooked. I would create a fake Facebook profile of you and copy your life for 30 days.
All right. Very controversial subject, to say the least. All right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Oh, good question. I am more of a. That's a tough one. Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say, what's his name? Electabuzz. Electabuzz. I forgot his name. Electabuzz, I think.
I think that's right.
Some people like to, say Charizard to be cool, but no, I ain't that cool. I ain't gonna lie. I know my limits. I'm Electabuzz. I'm just there, to fill out the space in your Pokedex. You probably ain't gonna use me, but hey, you need a good hand, I got you. You need an electric type and your Pikachu dead, you call me.
Well, I mean, you're right about people choosing Charizard, but I mean, if anybody had a claim to Charizard, it would be the guy with dragon in his name, no?
You would think so, right? You would think so. I wouldn't, you know what? I wouldn't even claim Charizard. Well, I don't know. There are times Charizard's like a jerk. So I guess I could be, but maybe Charmander.
Okay.
But Charmander was like cute. I ain't cute. So yeah, I would say Electabuzz or Poliwhirl. I know that one's random, but just Poliwhirl. He's just so random, Poliwhirl. He doesn't even do anything. He just says his name. Poliwhirl gets hit. He's so random. And that sums up me, just random.
Oh yeah. Now we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG. I could spell it
THUG.
I can spell it out for you if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, 'cause a Doug can't spell.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that saying. I was gonna say something totally different. I was like, Tony Hawk's Underground? Are we getting into gaming? The jump like Tracy Smothers playing games? I was like so hyped and confused. Yeah, Tracy's good. Yeah.
Ironically enough, we've gotten Tony Hawk's Underground multiple times. But no, not the Doug we're looking for. Yes.
Yeah, Tracy's good people. His daughter wrestles, right? Jessie. What's her name? Jessie Bell.
Yeah, Jessie Bell and Mickey Knuckles.
Mickey Knuckles. That's right, Mickey.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of interviewing Mickey, so yeah, that was an awesome experience.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, we love the late great Tracy Smothers, trying to keep the memory alive on the show.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
He's a full-blooded Italian.
Even though he's Irish.
Yeah, even though he's Irish, he's a full-blooded Italian.
Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
Ooh, good question. Would I ever consider wrestling a Rock? I would try it. Because if I could make it entertaining, then I know that I could do it with, someone who's not as experienced. So I would do it just to see what I could get out of it.
All right, well, just for context, there was a wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Okay, how did that go? I ain't wrestling. I wouldn't even wrestle for 15 minutes with a Rock. You get like 6, maybe 5. You ain't getting a lot. I'm sorry. I feel like that would get boring after a while. But okay, how did fans watch this 2-week Iron Man match?
Well, some did, because he actually had a match in between wrestling The Rock, and The Rock ran into that match and continued their match during his match.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But it ended in a tie, 319 to 319. But The Rock was the world champion, so because it was a tie, he retained. So technically, The Rock won.
That is insane. I believe it. That is insane.
All right. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Shoot, in 5 years, in the bed, sleep. No. In 5 years, I'd be 40. That's probably when it's about time for me to hang it up, I think, at 40. I also think at 40, that would be, my math ain't that good. That's why I became a wrestler. I think that's about 20 years in, I think. Maybe 21, somewhere in there. I can't remember whichever comes first. Either I'm going to make 40 my last year or my 20th year in my last year. I don't want to really go past that. I don't want to keep risking it. Like if once I get to okay, I'm 40 years old, I want to move into a role where I can, more so help, instead of having to take bumps and stuff like that.
I gotcha. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Zombie Dragon is as a wrestler?
Ooh, two matches I would choose. The match with Toru in Japan, I have to upload that one to YouTube because I don't think they still have it up. My match with Toru, because that's mostly character work, and I'm the heel. And another match would be against Aiden Rex from Singapore Pro Wrestling. That one is online. I'm not sure where, but I do know it's online because I have some videos from it. That one was a lot of character work and people seeing not just what I can do, but what I can take, things that I can base for, and the speed, the athleticism, and the other things that come with the character all encompasses in that match.
So not the match with the bugs.
Definitely not the match with the bug. I don't even want to watch the match with the bug. It was like, hey, we got video. Cool, keep it. I don't want to see it.
All right. If the second match you mentioned is indeed online, I will grab it from YouTube and I will put a link to it in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. And if you upload the other match you mentioned, I will put that one in as well. For anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview.
Cool deal.
And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Oof.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh, definitely exclude myself. Greatest wrestler of all time. For me, I would say Dean Malenko.
Worst wrestler.
Worst wrestler of all time. Eric Silva.
How did I know you were going to say that? You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Ooh, main event at WrestleMania. Who is my opponent? Who's dead that I can beat? No, I got it. That Rock. That 2-week Rock. I'm going to fight that Rock at Mania.
Okay. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Ooh, anybody's entrance music? I'm going to choose because I want to come out to the game and while I'm actually holding like a PlayStation controller. So I'm like playing the game and I am the game. I thought that'd be cool.
I got you. That's awesome. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Kayfabe is. Well, I can't say that word. Let's see. Let me find a better word. Kayfabe is not putting pineapples on pizza.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash, vegetable or fruit?
A squash would be a fruit.
That is correct. It is indeed a fruit.
I know. I teach a little bit of science, so I kind of that one. All beans are fruits as well. All beans are fruit. Tomatoes are fruit. Squash is fruit.
We only deal with squashes on this show. If you want to deal with tomatoes and beans, you have to go somewhere else.
That's random zombie facts.
New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
So what I go to is, if you're gonna do shorts, then they have to come below your ball sack. the end of the shorts below your ball sack is okay. Anything above that's just weird. If you do like the normal trunks like Triple H and Goldberg, then you need to have the thigh to fill it out for it to actually look good, if that makes sense. I hope that visually makes sense for whoever's listening.
I think so, yes. We've never had it depends on the dies before on the show.
Could you imagine Zombie walking around checking everybody's gear? Those tights better not be above your balls.
Right. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Oh, good question. Have I ever had a conversation in a supermarket about Darby Allin? No, I've not had a conversation about Darby in a supermarket, but I have had conversations about Darby Allin. And actually, funny enough, I met him in Atlanta when he was just starting out, before he got married and everything. He wasn't as crazy then, or at least he didn't show it, but boy, he fooled me. Holy crap. And no, I've never had a conversation about him at the supermarket.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be on, man. It's I always like to have fun and do these things. It's a good way for people to go behind the character, because Zombie doesn't talk as a character, so it's a good way to connect with people, and they can learn a little bit that you can't really tell from online and stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's what we strive to do on Wrestling With, is get to know the character a bit and get to know the person behind the character as well.
Right.
Once again, where can we find all things Zombie Dragon on social media and your merchandise?
All right. So you can find me on Facebook, which is the best place to find me. You can find me as Alberto Curry. It's not my real name. It's a fake name. It's a whole nother story. But you can find me on there as Alberto Curry.
You can
find me on Twitter.
Eric Silva as well.
You can find me as Eric Silva. You can find me as TH3 Zombie Dragon on Twitter. And you can find me as The Zombie Dragon on Instagram. And if you want to get a shirt or something like that, you can go to my Pro Wrestling Tees shop. It's called Devil Wear. So Pro Wrestling Tees, then a little backslash thing, and put in Devil Wear. And then you can find all my cool zombie swagging.
And you don't even have to type it into your Google machines. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link, a new tab will appear on whatever device you are on, you have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt.
Unless you like pineapple on pizza.
He don't want your money if you like pineapple.
Your money is no good here.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
Alright.
For our very special guest, Zombie Dragon, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.